My name is Honda. I'm 72 years old, and I was born in Osaka, Japan. Where I come from, we believe that cleanliness is not just about being tidy. It's about how you live, how you treat others, and how you respect your space. When I was a boy, we didn't have cleaners in school. We were the cleaners. Every day after class, we would sweep, wipe, and scrub together. At home, we always took off our shoes at the door, carried our own trash until we found a bin, and never left a mess for someone else to deal with. Not because someone told us to, but because we were taught that a clean space is a gift you leave for the next person. Now, at 72, these habits are still with me. And when I see the world changing, I wonder, what if more people lived this way? What if a few simple habits could bring more calm, more order, and more respect into our daily lives? So today, I want to share with you 12 habits from Japan that shape the way I live. They're not complicated. In fact, they're beautifully simple. And maybe they'll inspire something in you too. There was a time when I visited my son in California. He lives in a beautiful neighborhood, has a lovely home. But I remember feeling something strange. Shoes scattered by the door, mail piling up on the counter, a sink full of dishes waiting until the weekend. It wasn't dirty, but it wasn't peaceful either. One morning, I asked him, "Why wait to clean?" He shrugged and said, "Dad, that's just how life is here, too busy. We clean on Saturdays." I didn't say much, but that night I quietly wiped the kitchen counter, arranged the shoes by the door, folded the blanket on the sofa. In Japan, we don't wait for the weekend. We clean as we live. The next morning, he noticed. He smiled and said, "It feels better." And that's when I realized what we think is just cultural can actually be transformational, not just for our homes, but for our hearts. Cleanliness, to me, has never been about perfection. It's about peace. And that visit became the moment I knew I had something worth sharing, not as a rule, not as tradition, but as a quiet way to bring more calm into our everyday lives. Next, let me show you the first and simplest habit that changed everything.
Cleanliness
Removing
is
shoes at
peace,
the door.
not
In
perfection.
Japan, before you step into someone's home, you stop. You remove your shoes, always. To many people, it might seem like just a way to keep the floors clean. But for us, it's much more than that. When I was young, my grandmother used to say, "Leave your dirt at the door, not just from your shoes, but from your day." Taking off your shoes is a moment of pause. It's how we separate the outside world from the space where we rest, eat, and gather with family. It's a gesture of respect, not just for the home, but for the people inside it. In traditional Japanese homes, we have a genkan, a small entryway where shoes are removed and neatly placed. Sometimes we offer guests a pair of clean indoor slippers. And in some homes, we even have separate slippers just for the bathroom. Yes, it's that intentional. When I visited my son, I noticed his children running around the house with muddy sneakers. So one evening, I sat with them and shared an old story from Osaka about how spirits live in the home, and we must care for that space like it's alive. The next day, they left their shoes at the door, not because I told them to, but because now it meant something. And maybe that's what matters most. If you want to try this at home, start simple. Place a small rug or mat by your entryway. Add a shoe rack, maybe even a few indoor slippers. It's not just cleaner, it's quieter, more peaceful. It tells your body and your mind, "You're home now. You can breathe." And sometimes, that one small ritual
You're home now.
is the beginning of something bigger.
Breathe.
Next, I'll share the simple daily habit that keeps a home tidy without ever feeling like cleaning. In my home in Osaka, we don't have cleaning days because every day is a cleaning day. Not the kind with buckets and gloves, not the stressful weekend where you try to scrub your whole life back into order. No, it's smaller than that. quieter. We wipe the table right after dinner. We put things back where they belong right after we use them. We sweep the floor just a little before bed. These things take maybe 2 minutes, but they save hours of stress and give back something more valuable than time: peace. I remember watching my American grandson struggle with keeping his room clean, so I gave him a challenge. Every time you leave a room, leave it 1% better than you found it. At first, he laughed, but he tried, picking up a sock here, pushing in a chair there, straightening a pillow. And one day, he came to me and said, "Grandpa, it feels nicer in here, like I can think better." I smiled, because that's exactly the point. Tidying isn't just about your space, it's about your state of mind. When your surroundings are calm, your thoughts slow down, your heart softens. You feel more at home in your own life. So if you want to try this, start small. Wipe your kitchen counter after every use. Put the remote back in the same spot. Make your bed as a gift to your future self. No pressure, no perfection, just presence. Next, I'll tell you about the habit that surprised most Americans when I explained it. How in Japan, we carry our trash with us, even when there are no bins. When I first visited New York City, I was surprised by something. It wasn't the tall buildings or the crowded streets. It was the number of trash bins on almost every corner. And yet, trash still found its way to the ground. In Japan, we have the opposite problem. There are hardly any public trash bins. After a terrorist attack in the 1990s, most were removed, and they never really came back. But something interesting happened. People adapted. We started carrying our trash with us until we got home. Yes, even chewing gum wrappers, even empty coffee cups. Because we learned that public space is shared space, and what we leave behind says something about who we are. When I told my American friends this, they asked, "Isn't that annoying?" I smiled and said, "Maybe, but you get used to it, and then you start to feel proud." Because cleaning up after yourself in public is a quiet kind of dignity. A message to the next person. I was here, and I cared. When I walk in a park, I carry a small reusable bag in my pocket. It weighs nothing, but it holds my responsibility. My granddaughter now does the same, not because I told her to, but because she saw me do it. That's how habits spread, not through rules, through example. So if you're out today, at the park, the beach, a cafe, try carrying a small bag for your trash. It's such a small act, but it makes you feel aware, grounded, connected to the space you're in. And slowly, the world around you becomes just a little bit cleaner. Not because someone cleaned it for you, but because you did. Next, let's talk about a tiny object that lives in every Japanese pocket and how it quietly keeps the world a little cleaner. When I was a child in Osaka, my mother wouldn't let me leave the house without three things: my lunchbox, my school bag, and, always, a handkerchief. To us, it was as essential as wearing shoes. You never knew when you'd need it. To wipe your hands, to dry your face, to clean a little mess no one else would notice, but you would. Today, even at 72, I still carry one. In Japan, a handkerchief isn't just for yourself. It's a gesture, a quiet promise. Wherever I go, I will leave things better than I found them. You see it in everyday life. A man wiping the sink after washing his hands in a public restroom. A woman gently patting down a train seat before she sits. Not with a look of judgment, but with a look of care. I remember once in Los Angeles, someone saw me drying my hands with a cloth and asked, "Why don't you just use paper towels?" I smiled and said, "Because this one I can wash and reuse, and it doesn't end up in the ocean." They paused and nodded. It's such a small thing, folded neatly in your pocket, but it changes how you move through the world. You're always prepared to clean, to care, to consider others. So I encourage you, find a cloth you like, keep it with you. Use it to wipe a table, dry your hands, offer to a grandchild. Not just to stay clean, but to stay present. Because every time you take out that handkerchief, you're not just cleaning. You're reminding the world and yourself that small care still matters. Next, I'll show you how Japan turns cleaning into a joyful family ritual and how it transformed my relationship with my grandchildren. In Japan, we teach children to clean, not as punishment, but as pride. I remember being just 6 years old, holding a tiny broom almost as tall as me, sweeping the classroom floors with my classmates before we went home. No janitors, no complaining, just small hands, working together, quietly, respectfully. You see, in our culture, cleaning is not beneath anyone. It's part of being human, and more importantly, part of being together. When I came to visit my son's family in America, I noticed something. The kids were being told to clean their rooms, but it felt like a battle, a chore, a punishment. So one Sunday, I tried something different. I said, let's all clean the kitchen together and then make pancakes. We put on music. We made it fun. We didn't call it cleaning. We called it resetting the house. And something beautiful happened. My granddaughter wiped the counters with care. My grandson folded towels with pride, not because they had to, but because they were part of something shared. Afterward, over pancakes, I told them, in Japan, we clean the places we belong to because we love them. Their eyes lit up because now cleaning had a why. If you're looking for peace at home, not just order, try this. Make tidying a family moment, not a solo burden. Set a timer for 10 minutes each day. Turn on a favorite song. Everyone picks one small task, then share a meal, a laugh, a memory. Because in those quiet, humble moments, we don't just teach cleaning, we teach care, we teach pride, we teach love. And maybe, years from now, your grandchild will remember wiping that table with you, long after the crumbs are gone. Next, I'll show you why having less can actually make your life feel more, and how minimalism became my path to peace. A few years ago, I opened a drawer in my house in Osaka and couldn't remember the last time I used half of what was inside. Old batteries, single chopsticks, papers from a decade ago. And I thought to myself, why am I carrying all of this when none of it carries me? That day, I began a quiet process. One drawer, one shelf, one corner at a time, not throwing things away in anger, but letting them go with thanks. We call it danshari in Japan. It means refuse, release, and respect. Refuse what you don't need. Release what no longer serves you. Respect the space you live in. And slowly, something happened. The house got lighter. But more importantly, so did I. There was more air in the room, more silence, more peace, and oddly, more time. Because the less you have to manage, the more energy you have to enjoy what matters. When I visited my son again in California, I helped him and his wife with their garage, boxes and boxes of someday items. We sat together and asked one simple question. Have you used this in the past year? If not, we thanked it and let it go. And after a few hours, the space felt lighter. They looked at each other and said, we can breathe in here now. So, if your home feels cluttered, start small. One drawer, one shelf, one small corner, not to throw everything away, but to ask, does this still serve me? Because when your home is quiet, your mind can rest. And that's not just cleanliness. That's freedom. Next, I'll share the final and most important habit, the one that ties all of this together. Showing respect for shared spaces. It's a way of living that could truly change the world. When I was a teenager, my father once said to me, "Leave a space better than you found it, and someone will always be grateful, even if they never know your name." At the time, I didn't fully understand, but now, at 72, I do. Because every clean space I've left behind was a gift to someone else. Whether it was a park bench wiped dry before rain, a public restroom left spotless, or a dining table cleared with care after a family meal, each action said, "I was here." And I respected this place. In Japan, we don't think of cleaning as someone else's job. It is everyone's job. It is a shared duty, a quiet form of gratitude. I've seen people in suits picking up trash at train stations, school children scrubbing hallway floors without being asked, even monks sweeping temple steps every morning, not because they're dirty, but because the act itself is sacred. And now, when I visit other countries, I see the power this mindset could have. What if we all treated shared spaces like sacred ground? What if wiping a table, picking up a piece of litter, or folding a blanket became a daily ritual of respect? It's not just about being clean, it's about being kind, being thoughtful, being part of something bigger than ourselves. So I leave you with this. Cleanliness isn't a habit, it's a legacy. Every small act you do today shapes the space the next person will walk into. And maybe, just maybe, they'll do the same. Because the world doesn't change through grand gestures, it changes quietly, gently, one clean space at a time.